Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Somos Mas, the official podcast of Somos Mas NM, and your source for the latest news and notes on New Mexico United and the New Mexico Runners. My name is Seth. My name is Seth. But joining me this evening, no one currently. Jacob will be here shortly. It is safe to say that the USL Championship season is done. It has been 260 days between March 9th and Saturday, the 23rd. 260 days of soccer action within the USL Championship, and we finally have a cup champion. Jacob will be joining me here momentarily, and we will talk about the breakdown of Colorado Springs and Rhode Island FC. We're going to talk about some New Mexico United news. We're going to talk about some personal news as well, which is going to, it's kind of a big deal. So it's important to do what Jacob here before we start talking about that. But we got a lot to get to. Runners season 6 is just around the corner. I know they're having some deals on some season ticket packages starting on Friday, I believe. You can check them out over at their website. Get your season tickets over to the New Mexico Runners. We will be talking to Andres and Coach Steve Familetta here within the next couple of weeks prior to the season start, which is on December 29th. So we're looking forward to season 6 of the New Mexico Runners. Obviously, Coach Steve Familetta returning for his 6th season at the helm of the club. It'll be interesting to see what changes have gone on up there with the Runners at Rio Rancho. I know that we can't wait. Andres and Coach Steve are friends of the show. We do spend a good deal of time talking to them and enjoying their company during the season and the off season. And with any luck, we will all be able to get out there a bit more this year. So as we head into the holiday week, want to give you guys a small update on where we're at as a show, as a podcast, as a group. We're going to take tonight. We're going to talk about the USL Cup final. We're going to take a little bit of news, and then going forward, we're going to still try to bring you guys something every week. It may not be a full show each and every week during the off season, but we'll try to bring you at least something every week. Maybe an interview, maybe it's a shortened show. But we do want to keep bringing you guys something to keep you updated. And of course, if there is any major breaking news, we will be bringing that to you as well. Jane, glad to see you over in the chat. Jorge, glad to see the comment. Same one each and every week. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. It's going to be, I don't know about you guys, but Thanksgiving for me is it's a little bittersweet. I get, I'm here. Most of my family is back east, but this year I get to have my boys. I'm going to get to cook. It's going to be fun. I have my boys each pick out some dishes. We talked about it a little bit last week. Justin, how you doing? Hopefully all of you are, if you're traveling, hopefully you are safe and getting to where your intended destinations are. Josh, happy Thanksgiving to you as well. But I got to say, and yes, I am vamping and trying to buy time here. I'm looking forward on Thursday, not only to the traditional Thursday football games. I'm also looking forward to clean old-fashioned hate Friday night, where I am holding out hope that the UGA that struggled against UMass shows up again, and my Yellow Jackets can spoil any hope of UGA making the national championship game. So, and yes, that is a bit of a dig at my brother-in-law, who is a massive UGA fan. So I'm really, really hoping that Georgia Tech can pull it off. But it remains to be seen. I know Brent Key is doing some great things down on the flats in downtown Atlanta. I'm curious about those of you that are in chat. Obviously, we don't all just follow the USL. We do have NFL games. The big one that most folks here are interested in on Thursday is Cowboys, Giants. Now, clearly, neither of these teams are good. The Cowboys were in a bit of a shootout in the fourth quarter on Sunday. The Giants have already turned to Tommy Cutlets this past weekend, and Daniel Jones was the fourth string quarterback on Sunday. In a battle at the bottom of the NFC East, what happens on Thursday? I'm genuinely curious. Does someone actually win this game? I mean, obviously the Cowboys have the ability to put up some points. Their defense showed up early, but then was terrible late. But to be fair, the Giants are not a good team at all. So I'm genuinely curious, what do you guys think happens in that game on Thursday? Is there another game that you're going to be watching? Is there maybe even a college football game you're looking forward to this weekend that you'd rather watch instead of the NFL? I know for me, growing up, everyone loves watching. I agree, Justin. I do agree with that. Growing up for me, it was always Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and then jump right into football. And then you watch, the two Thursday games, and now it's 3 Thursday games. Then there's a Black Friday game on Amazon. There's a lot of football this weekend. There genuinely is. So can't help but then the football, only football, hockey. Okay, fair enough, Josh. Fair enough. I think hockey season just got underway. NBA season's underway. Who do you follow, Josh? I don't know. I haven't really followed the NHL since the Thrashers left Atlanta, which was a very long time ago. I know they're now playing up in Winnipeg. They're the Jets, right? I think the Thrashers are now the Jets. So yeah, it's the NHL is weird. I've been trying to follow the Blues, but I just can't pay attention. So, Seattle Kraken. Okay, I can get behind that. I know the Golden Knights have become pretty big last couple of years. So, no, it is not Wednesday. It is Tuesday. This is our season finale. We'll talk about again the USL Cup final, and among some other things. Jacob is here with us.
Yes.
Jacob, glad to have you. I was trying to vamp and buy some time, and hopefully you and the family are doing well. You guys ready for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, for the most part. Got to make a pumpkin pie and a cheesecake.
Okay.
And I think that's it. So.
Okay. I agree, Josh. Hockey is a lot of fun to watch. Like I said, I try to follow the Blues, but I don't really get as much time to watch that as I would. But making a cheesecake, I can't say that I've ever made either of those. I bought a pumpkin pie. I am not a baker by any stretch of the imagination. You can ask my girlfriend; she will tell you I'm a cheater when it comes to baking, by the pre-made doughs and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I bought a pre-made pumpkin pie and all those fun things. So, tonight, Jacob, we did want to share some news, some personal news for the podcast. For those of you that have not seen the post over in United Nation, Christina reached out to us early this morning to share some news that she and her family had lost their house in a fire overnight. It's pretty devastating moment for them, and we are, we're saddened, and we're obviously our thoughts and prayers are with Christina and her family. Christina and her husband and the kids and the dogs, they are fine. However, they have essentially lost everything. So if you have not seen the post over in the Mexico United Nations, her sister put up a request looking to get some donations of United gear. She has since gone back and updated it with a link to a GoFundMe, which we will put in the chat. They are raising money for Christina and her family to help them get back on their feet and kind of get some sort of normalcy back in their lives as they go forward with this. So please, if you can, go over and make a donation, donate some gear. We will be working with Christina and her family as well to help any gear that gets donated over to them. I live in town. I actually live about 1.5 miles away from Christina. And so I can help facilitate getting them things as needed. So, reach out to us, reach out to her sister, Kelly. We will help make sure we get everything to them. And as a podcast, Jacob and I were discussing it earlier. We are donating to the GoFundMe as well. I'm going to do this right now while we're on air. Christina's only been with the show for a little while, but Christina has become family to us. And, we want to show our support in any way that we can as well. So yeah, if you can, please go there and help out. $10, $5, everything helps get them towards that goal. Jacob, I don't know about you, that was some pretty, that was pretty shocking news to wake up to this morning.
Yeah, it was pretty much the first thing we heard when we got up, and Christina was actually out of town when it happened. Everybody else was in town though, so she's been making her way back this morning, and I believe she's back now. So yeah, just terrible news. You guys might have seen it. I guess it was all over Albuquerque news channels. Happened last night last night before the 10 o'clock news. And so, yeah, just terrible to hear, terrible to think about. But luckily, Christina has a very large extended family that wear black and yellow. And so I'm convinced we can do what it takes to get her back on her feet. So, yeah, please just do what you can.
Yeah, Christina was texting us early this morning. She said, according to the news reports, and she said she couldn't, bear to take a look at it, but the fire started somewhere around 7 o'clock last night, and that the crews basically worked on it throughout the night, trying to get it under control. But they are saying it's a total loss for the family. So. So yeah, if you did see it, or if you didn't see it, there's information over in United Nation on how to go and donate and support them. So with our donation this evening, the GoFundMe has now reached $7,500. Little over halfway to their goal. So please go out and share this here. Window. Again, just share. We've got the link there in the chat. Share it. Donate. Again, every $5, $10, $15 helps. Just terrible news, especially at any time, but especially right here before the holidays. So I can't imagine what they've gone through, what they're going through, what they will be going through. But we will be talking to Christina throughout all of this and making sure that anything that we can do to help, that we can. So please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. If you're a religious person, if you're not, in your thoughts, be sure you can always reach out to us. Through social media, through email, whatever the case is, for other ways that you can help them as well. So, yeah, we know that Earl is working to gather some clothes and things, because that's going to be something they need as well. Probably, dog food, cat food. I know they mentioned their cats are missing. So. There's gonna be a lot that they're gonna have to go through over the next couple of weeks and months as they sort through everything and deal with the insurance and all that kind of stuff. So Hi, Maggie.
Say hi.
No.
Yeah, so terrible news, terrible way to start. We will try to do our best to put that behind us for the next 45 minutes or so. But just do what you can, and like Seth said, keep thinking about her, praying for her and her family. So,
Yep, absolutely. So on to less sad news. We have a USL Cup final. We have a champion now, and it is, and I dare say, little brother. Can we even call them that anymore? Colorado Springs Switchbacks kind of ran roughshod over Rhode Island FC over the weekend, bringing the cup back to the West once again. Jacob, did you watch this game? What did you think of the performance of Rhode Island?
so I didn't get to watch all of it because it started at 10 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
on a Saturday, and I work on Saturdays, so some things didn't quite line up. I did catch bits and pieces of both halves. Yeah, they just ran out of steam. It happens. They had a good run. I thought they'd be able to carry that momentum, and they did not. So, yeah, I didn't think it would be, even thinking about it, I didn't think they'd get run out like that, but they did. And all hats to former little brother. But I'm a little bummed. I sent you the rundown, and I had that at the bottom of the rundown for a reason. But you had to just be like, no, got to go right off the top because I guess it's important that there's a USL Cup, whatever, huh, Maggie?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'd rather get that out of the way because then we have a whole lot more on the Mexico United. So, but yeah, I mean, the cup coming back to the West, is the West the best?
No, we have been in seasons past, yes. This year that was not the case, but we do get the trophy back over here, and so I think it's the 5th year in a row. Mm-hmm. I want to say every year that we've been in the league, because 2019 was Real Monarchs, 2020 was there wasn't a title, 2021 was Orange County, 22 was San Antonio, and 23 was Phoenix. And so, yep.
Yeah, so definitely some interesting some tidbits there. And I know even Nick Murray got involved in a conversation on social media over the weekend talking about East versus West. And 3 of those 6, 4 of the 6, there have been away games for the West. So, yeah. And I mean, realistically, the East dominated the West in interconference play this year. So I mean, what got missed? Is it Rhode Island just ran out of steam? Is it the best in the West? The West kind of beat up on each other and made the point totals look a little bit deflated compared to how the teams are actually playing. Like,
I think it's it's a combination. One, when you have a one-off tournament, anything can happen, right? And so you get down to the final, and anything can happen. Charleston was the better team last year. Phoenix was able to survive, get to PKs, and then it's a coin toss from there. Mm-hmm. This year, I don't think you can say that Colorado Springs wasn't the better team by any means. And they just flat out outplayed them. I think as a whole, the West was tough, but I was looking more at like head-to-head drink. I was looking more at head-to-head, and the East destroyed the West in head-to-head. So it wasn't even just point totals, period. It was everything. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think the 5 years, even though I'm a huge fan of the teams out West over the teams back East, I'm a huge fan of seeing the Cup come back West every year that we've been here. But you can't tell me that, or you can't convince me that Lou City wasn't the best team this year. over the course of the season. And so, yeah, no. It's a weird thing.
Yeah. Is Colorado still little brother?
We beat them twice this year, so yes.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, if they would have beat us on the way to a title, maybe not. But to us, little brother still.
I mean, Chile's still better here anyway.
Yeah, Chile's still better. Have you met people from Colorado? Man, they're weird. I don't like them.
Yeah, a little bit.
So.
Yeah, so right, the season's officially done. 260 days from March 9th to November 23rd. Season is done. We are officially in the off season. Speaking of which, we have lots and lots of league news. Players already being signed, players being let go, lots of roster announcements. I mean, let's just go through a couple of these, looking at who stands out. San Antonio's got some announcements. Sacramento's made some. Sacramento made a pretty big announcement today over on X. You've got Tampa Bay making roster moves, El Paso, Charleston, Oakland. Who stands out in the early announcements?
Team or player?
Let's go standout player first. And what team do you think has made the most impactful announcement so far?
I'll go with team because I don't want to talk about them for very long. Okay. First, anyway, Sacramento's bringing back a lot of players, and so I think it was 14 total, including Portillo, Cicerone, Amon, and so they struggled this year. But Jack Gurr is going to be back. Overall, it's going to be the same team with a new guy at the helm, and we'll see kind of how that goes. They are losing a couple guys, Donovan and there was another guy. See, what I did was I took notes on my lunch break at the office, and then I didn't bring my notes with me. And so that's fun. And I am old school. I took paper notes, so it's not like it's on my phone. But they lost a couple guys on defense that could be a problem. But I think for the most part, them bringing back that many people kind of stood out to me. Like, bro, you just had like one of the most disappointing seasons I can remember, but from what people thought of you at the beginning of the season to where you finished, and you're just running it back with a new coach. Okay. But all the players that they're bringing back, I think, are really, really, really good talents. So there's that. I think the biggest name, the biggest player that isn't going back to their squad, I think it's probably got to be Cal Jennings. I don't know if he's going to sign with the USL team, so I'm going to kind of put him on the back burner. And there's three names that kind of stood out as far as like piqued my interest as a United fan. Tristan Traeger from Monterey Bay, who I thought was fantastic. Now, Monterey Bay did have something in there where they were in talks with some of the other players that were out of contract to bring them back. But they didn't bring back, like they did the exact opposite of Sacramento, and they're not bringing back anybody, or at least initially. And so maybe Traeger doesn't get out of there. And Siaha, their keeper, was the other name from them. And then Rocco Rios Novos. Rocco Rios Novo. Seemingly not going back to Phoenix is a surprise to me. And so I say those three names because I think Traeger is a great attacking talent that is still really young. And I don't know if he quite hit a high enough level for an MLS or European squad to take a look at him. So I think he might be back in the USL Championship. Same with Siaha. And then Rocco, man, we've seen him for years, and I think he's been a fantastic keeper for Phoenix, and so I'm not sure what happens there. Justin, to answer your question, I've been a notorious Alex defender, and I really do love what Tambakis has done for this club. I think when you're talking about a goalkeeper and a head coach, kind of comparing those roles, the voice that I hear when I'm down on the pitch at home games is overwhelmingly Tambakis and Quill. And so sometimes I think that goalkeeper that's yelling out commands, sometimes I think if we feel like we've reached our potential there, we need a fresh voice back there. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Alex comes back. I'm not going to be upset if Alex comes back, like some people associated with this podcast might. But I'm also thinking that a changeup definitely wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about Alex, I think it's going to be difficult to keep him. Do I think we need to change it? No. If he returns, I think he's the clear number one, right? I don't think there's any question about that. But if he leaves, I do think we keep Chris Shakes. I would, and if we sign someone like Rocco Rios Novo or Siaha, I can't complain about those either. And yes, that is me being slightly homerish because Atlanta United, but I think Rocco Rios Nova is a fantastic talent. He's young. He's got a lot of growth. He's got a lot of development left to make. And so I think he could be a really good keeper anywhere in this league. Siaha, we saw him stand on his head against us earlier this year. So there are names out there that I think could come in and potentially be ones ahead of Chris Shakes. But I think Chris Shakes has the talent. We just haven't seen him. Even in the Open Cup games, he really didn't get tested all that much. So
yeah, and he started in 2 USL Championship games. One of them got throttled. That was the Tampa Bay or Charleston match. I can't remember. Charleston. Knew it was one of those ones where we got throttled over there. And then he performed really well later in the year when we beat Loudoun and he was able to get a clean sheet. And so I agree. I think the talent's there. Maybe that's what they think. Maybe coaching staff, Itamar, and them think the same thing, and they just roll with him. I would expect if a new coach is coming in, especially the coach is going to tell me what the season's going to look like, if you ask me. If they bring in some of the names that we mentioned last Wednesday after Quill departed and somebody with experience and success somewhere, then I think we end up not relying on Shakes and going the proven USL Championship route, just because I think that would show, to me anyways, that they're like, hey, we want to win a title and we're going to make sure that we don't have any major holes anywhere, especially in such an important position like keeper. So, yeah. So I could see it. I could see it for sure.
Yeah, so there, along the same lines, there have been some names that we know are not going back to their former clubs. If you look around the league, some of the names that popped up, Juan Carlos Azacar, Lawrence White, Tomas Angel, who was a pain in our ass.
Screw that guy, by the way. Not Angel, but White. White probably had the most punchable face of all the defenders that I watched closely this year at the Lab.
It's entirely, it's entirely possible. Other names that we've seen, come around, Jackson Conway, Robert Crawford, Emilio Icaza, Prince Sadie, which is a name that you brought up earlier this year. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different guys who have been
Elvis Amo, Alex Dixon, Joaquin Rivas, and Ricardo Zacharias.
You just mentioned Cal Jennings a few minutes ago. Mm-hmm. Some other guys, Nick Hines, another name that we're familiar with.
Miles Lyons.
Yeah, so there's a lot of names that are floating around out there. Is there anyone that you, of the names that we're aware of, is there anyone that you would like to see?
Yeah, I think you have Cal Jennings. I think probably should be at the top of everybody's list if you follow the USL whatsoever. He has been a menace in Tampa the last 2 years and in Vegas the years before that. And so if he came to the black and gold or black and yellow, I'd be thrilled. I I kind of mentioned him already, but Tristan Traeger, man, when he was healthy and on the pitch for Monterey Bay, he stood out like a sore thumb, man. I loved watching him. I loved watching what he could do with the ball at his feet, and he finished, and he's like 22 years old. I think he could be an outstanding multi-year contract that we could go and put out, and maybe he's only here for a year. If he does well, he gets transferred, but we get a little piece of the pie. I don't know. Ikaza, the name that you just threw out, some help in the midfield. Danny Barajas, who's been with Hartford Athletic, I think, since they came into the league in 2019 with us. If not right then, shortly after they announced he was leaving. He's on the older side, but I think he could still contribute in the midfield.
Quickly, speaking of a guy who's on the older side, if he returns next season after I believe an ACL tear, Rodrigo Lopez. Now, Republic are reportedly in negotiations with him.
Yeah.
If that falls through, is Roro a player you'd like to see here in New Mexico?
Man, we've seen that injury, and he's also much older than Nava and Amando were when they suffered that injury.
Mm-hmm.
If you were giving me not even peak Roro, but like 2 years ago Roro, yes, I'm just not sure we get that coming off that injury. And so I'm just going to say probably okay not signing him this offseason. And I doubt he leaves Sacramento anyways. And so, and then I had some other names on there. Donovan from Sacramento as a defender.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis Erdman, I don't know what's going on there. He was with El Paso after being with Colorado Springs for quite a while. He didn't play a single match for them this year. I can't remember if it was injury. I think part of it was injury. Part of it was a dumpster fire, and he was like, "I'm good. I don't need to come back from this injury." But if he's healthy, I wouldn't mind seeing him. And all this is kind of caveated with, I don't know who's coming back from our team. And so these are names that I'm kind of picturing adding to most of the players that we had on the team last year and kind of how they would fit in there. That's why I think Traeger and Cal Jennings kind of stick out to me, because that was our kind of Achilles heel, was finishing. And I saw those guys finish at a pretty successful rate. And not only that, but they also do a really good job of creating chances for their teammates. And so
yeah, so speaking of not knowing who's coming back, not knowing what's going to happen with United going forward, we finally have a roster announcement. It's been announced, and you've been talking about it over on social media. Daniel Bruce is back again, back for 2 more years. One of the OGs. When United put out their release, it was discovered that Bruce had actually signed an extension mid-year. Club did not announce it, and I do open the off season with that announcement. And we talked about it last week. We've talked about it in the past. Will Brucey be back? What sort of role would he have? I mean, I love Brucey. I think Brucey's a phenomenal player. I think he's absolutely a fan favorite. He just doesn't stop, right? Is this United hanging on, or is this well-deserved for Brucey?
I think if you look at where he's come since year one, I think fans probably were calling for him to play more in year one. Mm-hmm. And he slowly and surely got more minutes and more minutes and more minutes. And now I think he was arguably one of the most impactful players on the pitch for us all season. So it's super well deserved. It's a perfect combination of he wants to be here. He's a solid contributor. He's the type of player that you love to have on your team. I went back and I listened to the podcast that we did with him 2 years ago when he signed that 2-year extension that brought him to this point. And and he talks about just wanting to outwork people and talks about if they might be bigger and more talented, but he's going to give it their all and make them work. And it's just the kind of mentality that you love to see in a player. And when he starts making that kind of contributions on and off the pitch, it's a perfect fit. And so he fully deserved. Also, I think United's smart enough to know, like, hey, if this guy wants to be here and we tell him no, we would lose half the fan base. And so yeah, perfect combination. If you get a chance, guys, I might post the link to the 2022 conversation that we had with him on the pod again, and get a chance to go listen to that. I bet most of what he had to say there still pertains. And so, yeah, just a great guy, great way to start it off. Hopefully we get some more throughout the year or throughout the week. I think we'll get one more announcement this week. I don't know if it'll be a player or a group of players, but I think we'll get one more. I've loved the way that a lot of the clubs have been handling it, where it's just like, hey, here's the deal. We're bringing back these 10 guys. We're in negotiations with these 3 guys, and these guys are gone. And I love it. But also, when you have a social media team as good as United, they're not going to do that. Unless they have to. They're going to draw it out. And so we will see what happens.
Yeah. You also mentioned in our group chat, and now this is to say you saying that you think there's going to be another announcement. This is not us knowing anything. This is not us, this is all speculation. We don't know anything at all. So this is just what we think will happen based off what we know about the club, what we know about their history, and how they handle player announcements. So this is certainly us being hopeful, because we always want news. We certainly had times in the past where we've just been begging for news. So but yeah, when you have a social media team that's as dedicated as ours with all the things they like to do, I do think they dragged it out a bit.
I will say, though, that last year they put out the initial roster moves before the championship cup was played, and it was a handful of names that they said would be returning. So they could come back. They could have given Brucey a shine because it's Brucey, and then they could come back with these 5 or so names are coming back because they were already under contract, and then be hush hush on everything else. I was looking back through, and Seymour did sign a 2-year extension in February of this year. So it would have been this year this year that just ended, and this coming season. So I think I can confidently say that unless they terminate that agreement, which I don't think they will, Seymour and Bruce will be back this season. And then now take this with a huge grain of salt because it came from Transfer Market. But that's really the only source that we have that we can mess around with. Everybody else seemed to be out of contract, except for Nanan Hosu, who it said had a club option. If it is a club option, I think United would be crazy not to pick it up. And if everybody else just had a 1-year contract, which I think is crazy, I don't think that's the case. It just doesn't seem like that's going to be the situation. And so, like I said, take it with a grain of salt because it's Transfer Market and who knows. But
well, and we've talked about it before. The vast majority of contracts that are in the USL are 1-1.
Yeah.
It's not often you see multi-year deals. So that's why, Brucey signing a 2-year deal, Seymour signing a 2-year extension. That's more, I think that's a bigger deal to talk about. But most of the contracts we see are 1-1. So I would not be surprised, and I agree with you. If we do not pick up that second option or the 2-year option on Nanan Hosu, I think we're nuts.
Really, if our players were under a 1-1 with a club option, there's like one name that I bet you can already know that I think we wouldn't pick up.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, even that one, with the talk that we heard about how he was training towards the end of the year, maybe they see a light there, and maybe he can come back healthy. And of course, that's Abu Danladi. But I would expect, I don't know, 90% of the roster, if it's on a 2-year contract or an option, then they would get picked up. But I'm not sure what's going to happen with, how soon they find a coach, how much that coach wants to have a say in who's there and who's not. And I'm assuming with these contract options, there's deadlines that they have to be exercised. And if we don't have a coach by the time that deadline comes, then Itamar and the rest of the front office is going to be making that decision. Maybe some of the staff, but I imagine we'll get a couple new staff members there. I don't know. Luke survived all 3, and so maybe they go to him and are kind of like, "Hey, what do you think?" But it's going to be an interesting offseason.
Well, end of the league year is here on the 30th. So my guess is that's because if you look at transfer market, that's when most of the contracts say they expire. So my guess is the clubs have until the 30th to exercise those options, and then from there, everyone becomes free agents. And I certainly don't see us announcing a coach in the next 4 days.
Yeah.
So, and we talked about it a little bit last week. We do think the club had a little bit of lead time on coach leaving,
like a day.
Yeah, like a day. So I don't think they're anywhere close to prepared to announce a coach. Now, again, we did talk about all the smoke surrounding Coach Quill that's been going on since really the end of last year. So maybe they had a short list put together. But even then, I don't think they were pursuing anything while Coach was still under contract. So, because especially when you sign him to that 2-year extension, you're not looking for somebody at that time. Now, if I'm Peter and I'm Ron and I'm Itamar, I have a list stashed away somewhere.
Yeah.
Hey, this is who I'm interested in if this happens.
With as much smoke as that was around Quill and FC Dallas, I think you had to be doing that. So, and so, we'll see. But like Briggs or Sacramento and San Antonio both announced their coaches being let go a week before we did. And it seemed like they were like, all right, it's our decision that we're letting you go, meaning we've been thinking about it and we already kind of know what direction we want to go. And they haven't announced a new coach yet either. And so it'll take time. It'll be that happened last Wednesday. So we're basically a week. I mean, it'll be 2 more weeks, I think, at the earliest.
That'd be my guess.
If they're doing by the time they do the interviews, pick, negotiate, sign, and then get it all together to announce, I think it'll be a while.
Yeah, more than likely. Going back, there was a question earlier. Do you think we get a 12 days of Christmas type announcement, or will the club do like you said, a dump?
I think we'll get a small dump. And then it kind of depends on new players, if they're ready to be signed or ready to be announced, or if they're going to be something holding them up or whatever. It just depends. And so, I think I just don't think it'll be a 12 days type situation, unfortunately.
Yep. I get it. I absolutely get it.
You didn't say earlier, I mean, assuming our names were kind of similar, was there anybody else that is available outside of the club that you were looking at?
I mean, I mentioned Rocco Rios Novo and a couple of, I think Prince
ones.
Sadie would be a name that I'd look at. I mean, obviously Cal Jennings, you can't not look at him.
There was another one that I had forgot to mention, Cristiano Francois, formerly of RGV, and then was with Loudon this year. I like those pacey wings, man. Those pacey wings just tickle my fancy. So Prince Sadie and him and Elvis Amo are all guys that I could think of. And so, but it really comes down to who we bring back and and what positions we're kind of needing. I would love to see another center back, even if we keep the 3.5 that we had with Seymour Ryden and the youngins. But yeah, it's a lot of news, but nothing like a lot of news that's kind of like, oh, what could be, what could be, what could be. Nothing for us anyway, since we didn't do a full-on roster announcement like a lot of these other teams. For us, it's kind of like a wish list, and then a wish list of players that we see are now free agents, and a wish list of players that are on the team that we don't know if they're coming back or not.
Yeah, and we still have a lot of clubs that have a lot of announcements, a lot of roster news to go through.
For sure.
And not just that. So not just within the championship, you got League One, you've got MLS, you've got a lot of different places. And I mean, you got Sacramento signing a wing back from the Bundesliga 2 or something.
Yeah, some European league.
Yeah,
I didn't
Sudland or whatever. Yeah,
I didn't dig too much into that signing just yet.
Yeah, Dominic Vonner from where is it? Regionalia Südwest. So that's somewhere down below Bundesliga 2. So but highly touted guy came up through, I believe, the Bayern or the Borussia Dortmund academy. So there's a lot of names. We're gonna see a lot of names popping up, a lot of things going on here in the next few weeks. And I mean, we've kind of talked about it already. I mean, our wish list of who we want to come back. I think the number one for me is your New Mexico United 2024 team MVP and newcomer of the year, Talon Maples. I mean, I can't talk enough about the job that Talon did this year. He was absolutely phenomenal. So
led the team in minutes, was just a solid rock back there. He did have the one hiccup with the handball. But again, I've broken down that video for you guys. I don't fully blame him. And so, yeah, that would mean one hiccup in 1,500 minutes or more, almost 2,000 minutes. I think he was rock solid all season. I don't know if I'd go MVP for sure, newcomer, but then I don't know who I would make MVP at that point. I think I'd just split it up just to give two people a shout out. But I think Hosu could have been nominated. Akale could have been up there. The team only gave us 3 options in every category. We couldn't pick from the whole roster, and so that kind of limited some things. But no, definitely deserved. Hats off to him, and he's one that he's probably top 3 in my list of people we need to bring back for sure.
Do you miss the club giving us a separate media vote?
Okay.
No. Okay. I mean, I think we should. I don't know how much
to
bring that back. But then again,
they waited, and so.
Yeah. But then again, so you got to think the local voting media is like you, me, Chris Walker, Ken, maybe KOET, KOB, KRQE, like one person from each of them. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Not a lot there.
Yeah.
So, that's why I don't know if they weight it differently, because I mean, let's be honest, if they weight it to where media counts for a good portion of it, and there's that few people, and no offense to KOAT and KRQE, but they're not focused on United like the rest of us are, and so they would just be like, oh, Hurst had 12 goals, click.
Yeah, exactly.
And move on. And so I had one thing, again, shout out to Talon. I saw something over on X earlier today that I'm calling BS on, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it. I don't know if you've spent a lot of time over there and saw this, but there's a page called USL News and Rumors.
Mm-hmm.
And he put out 2 lists about 7 hours ago, that I thought were mildly interesting, even though I'm almost positive he's getting this from Transfer Market, because I just don't see how he could get it in any other way. But he put out a list where it says the teams with the most expensive budgets this past season.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is this is roster and roster only. he had Sac Republic at 1, El Paso at 2, Lou City at 3, Tampa at 4, Indy at 5. And then he had another list with the 5 least. We'll get to it in a minute. Assuming this is, if he has an inside source that's legit, are there any names there that surprise you? And why is it El Paso?
It can't be El Paso. There's no way. There is no way without. There's no way.
I don't know, man. They Joaquin Rivas is an expensive talent. Amando, I'm sure they paid a pretty penny for. Jamali White is a top tier keeper, I think, in the league. But
Amando is probably the highest paid player on that roster. And I'm thinking maybe $1 million.
Yeah, I'm not even going to go down that road because I have no idea there. But like the other name, Sac has a ton of talent. They brought in Trevor Amon, Russell Cicerone's there, Jack Kerr's there, Danny Vitiello's there. Like that makes sense. Lou City obviously makes sense with all the talent that they have, and they just kept adding throughout the year. Tampa Bay, Cal Jennings, as mentioned before. That's the other guy, Munjoma from Eddie Munjoma from Tampa Bay in the midfield was another name that I had circled as somebody that I wouldn't mind having come over here. And then Indy 11, Jack Blake, the Williams brothers up top, Malik Foster halfway through the year. So those all make sense. He also has a note that Sporting Lexington would have been in the top 5 of USL budgets, even though they were in USL League One, which I think is probably half Cameron Lancaster, would be my guess. Do you think these are legit? Like, what do you?
No,
they can't be, right?
There's no way. Like, and
unless he has a source in Tampa at the USL headquarters that has this there. But like, I've followed this guy for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, he'll throw a nugget out there. Hearing so-and-so is interested in so-and-so. But for the most part, he's batting like 70% on those. He doesn't throw a lot of them out. My guess is it's got to be Transfer Market Edition. Just adding up the values on Transfer Market. But I don't know, man.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. Transfer Market valuations are just that. It's just valuations.
Yeah, I know.
And unless these players have signed a MLS contract at some point, which all MLS contracts are transparent.
Public,
the MLS is that information is made public. I mean, that's the only way you're going to know valuations on these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way. And even then, whether or not those valuations match up to what they're actually making in MLS,
yes.
I mean,
that's for sure.
No, I wouldn't put any stock into that. I mean, to me, he's got Monterey as the lowest or the bottom of the league.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way Monterey was at the bottom of the league in terms of salary. There's no way with the play and Detroit City. I have a big problem with Detroit City being at number 3 on that at the bottom of that list. There with the names that Detroit City brought in this season. There's no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting list, though. I thought it was kind of worth chatting about, just because, like you said, surprising names up and down the list. But
yeah,
I don't know. I wish we had that kind of info freely available. That'd be nice, but we do not.
Yeah, that and again, that's something we've talked about, ad nauseum, and it's transparency from the league. They're not going to give that information out. They're just not.
Most of I don't know if you noticed this, but on almost all the releases of the initial roster moves, that in that release somewhere, it said per team policy, the details of the contracts were not disclosed. And so I thought that was interesting that it was team policy saying that.
Well, maybe there's no league mandate on that.
There's not.
Like there was no league mandate like that. Like the
injuries.
league did away with on injuries. Yep. And then when there was no mandate, the clubs just did whatever they wanted. And then United followed the leader on that. Once everyone else was on, United stopped. Don't get me wrong, it would be really nice to have those numbers. But again, transfer market valuations, that's just the valuation. That doesn't mean they're on that kind of contract.
Yeah.
We know that most of these players now are making somewhere mid 5 figures. Mid 5. Very, very few are going to be making 6 figures, and even fewer are going to be making closer to 7 figures.
Yeah.
So I think you probably have a couple players. I'd say maybe 20 players in the league that are making 7+.
And I doubt that. I mean,
yeah, I feel like that's probably high, but yeah, until the league mandates some sort of transparency, or a team decides, oh, hey, we're going to put this information out there, we'll never see it. And that's even with the record transfer fees that the league keeps talking about. Bees being a record intra-league transfer fee. Now what's his name? Winder going over to Europe. Like, there's no way for us to know. I will say that I have posited a couple things to the club. I've posed a couple things to the club about us, potentially getting a behind the scenes look. Now I've told David, I said, look, I will sign whatever I have to. I will sign whatever NDAs I have to do this, because I am genuinely interested. And not just for the sake of coming, hey, guess how much these guys are making? No, like, I'm genuinely interested in the process, and and how they're getting guys to sign, and what they're offering to bring them in. So I think it'd be really interesting to see that from behind the scenes. Who knows? Maybe it'll happen one day. I don't know. But yeah, I think anytime you see something like that, in terms of USL and their team value, or individual player value, or their salary, like, you're never going to see it. So I don't know. We'll see. There's a long way to go this offseason, though.
There is. So we don't know this for sure. We don't know anything. Let's say we get another announcement this week. If it's one person, who do you want it to be? Who do you think it will be?
I want it to be, honestly, I want it to be Akale. I think it'll be Chris Shakes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Justin says Maples and Maples.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, I could, that's, Maples is the easy answer, but
yeah, I mean, I could say, I think the one that I would want to see come back the most is probably Maples.
Mm-hmm.
With a close second, Nanan Hosu. Oh, is it bedtime for you? Huh? And then who I think it's going to be, I think you're right. I think it'll be a lesser name, a smaller, like something that's not going to move the needle quite as much. Like Chris Shakes, no. I didn't. You know that if you hit the space bar, it mutes your mic? I did not know this.
Does it?
Saved me so much time.
No, not me.
Not you?
Nope.
It's doing it for me, so that's going to be awesome. Hold on. Give me this. Kiss. Nuggins. Love you.
I would be willing to bet Nava comes back.
I would hope so. At some point. So yeah, I will go on record saying I want Maples. I think it'll be like a Nicky Hernandez type.
Okay.
We also don't have any official word on Reyes, but I'm thinking he's probably gone.
That'd be my guess.
What we got. So I think all that we really kind of have any inkling of right now, Bruce is back for sure. Seymour should be back because he signed a 2-year extension. Nanan might have a club option, and Hakobo is probably gone. So out of the 22 names, 24 names, including academy products, we really just have any kind of inkling on 4 of them, and one of those inklings is from Transfer Market, and so take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
And so
most of those academy guys are going to be off to college anyway. So
yeah, the guys that get brought up and brought on, they typically do. So yeah, I don't know, long way to go, and we will see what happens in the next week or so.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's all that we had. I think we hit everything on your list. So, I mean, I don't have any closing thoughts other than I'm going to put the link to the GoFundMe over in chat once again, and we will continue to share this on socials and things. So, go support Christina and her family, and then everyone have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, for sure. If you have any United memorabilia, she's been a season ticket holder since year 1. Had scarves, flags, clothes, jerseys, just anything and everything. And so if you have any extra, please reach out to Kelly over on Facebook, or reach out to us, and we can get you in contact with Kelly if you don't have a Facebook. And yeah, we'll do what we can to help her get her back on her feet. And so if you hear from her or see her anywhere out in Albuquerque, be sure to wish her the best and everything. And so crappy situation, but one thing about those is, one, they'll bring people together, and 2, material stuff can be replaced even if it is sad and sucks. And so thankfully nobody was injured, aside from maybe a cat, which still sucks. I'm a huge family pet guy, so I couldn't imagine. But just yeah, that's about it. Keep an eye out on United Social the rest of the week, and coming back next week and beyond for roster updates and a new coach eventually and stuff like that. We'll be back next week on the 3rd. We will be kind of wrapping up the season, maybe doing some favorite moments, maybe our own awards, something like that. We'll figure that out. We'll come back next week, and then after that, we'll probably go every week, but shorter episodes, maybe on a different subject here or there. And it probably won't always be me and Seth. We'll probably kind of have a rotating crew, so we get some time off throughout the winter and the holidays. But short off, like, that's one thing, a long off season, you said, right? May or March, whatever, to now, super long season, which means it's a shorter off season. So it's always action packed. We'll have a bunch of stuff coming flying at us from league news, club news, everything like that. So yeah, we'll be back. We got the first major holiday, 2 days. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Enjoy that. We'll be back next week, like I said. Until then, somos nidos. Love y'all, and just remember that, I'm sure when Christina went to California, she did not think she'd be coming home to not having a house. So just be thankful for what you have, and just remember that there's people out there that love you. And if you guys need anything, just reach out, and we'll see what we can do. So, somos nidos, guys. We'll see you later.